Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie and today I'm going to be doing my April wrap up. So to start off with just the general stats, I read a total of 27 books that in the month of April with a page total count at 10,216. I DNF'd 5 books, which is actually the lowest I've had all year so far, which is really good. 19 of these books were physical copies and 8 were ebooks. And then for the genre breakdown, I had 15 romances, 9 fantasy, 2 historical fiction, and 1 thriller. So a lot more romance this month than usual, and that is because I was gearing up for a Polycon, which is mainly romance. There was a lot of fantasy there that I found, but of books that I wanted to read, there were a lot of romance. But nothing wrong with more romance. Especially in the summer, it's just really fun to have those really light, easy to read romances. So I'm going to go through all 27 books in the order that I read them and give a general rating that I have. If you want more in-depth reviews, you can follow my Goodreads where I do a full breakdown of the books that I read. So the first book was actually a reread, and that is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha and Ngan. I ended up giving this reread 4 stars. It is still a really cool story, very dark and twisted, but the Asian inspired lore and mythology along with the world itself was really interesting, and I did really love this love story. Next I have The Gargoyle's Captive by Katee Robert. I gave this 3.5 stars. This isn't my favorite in the Demons Bargain series, but it was interesting. The gargoyle aspect with the wings and the stony flesh I found to be interesting, but the relationship dynamic fell a little flat comparatively to the other two. Next, I read Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. I gave this 4 stars. I really like the setup to this story. Now, I believe this is going to end up being a 6-book series. And the setup is really interesting. We have fae, we have all manners of deeply fantastical creatures. And our main character, Fortuna, she is what's called a nightmare, which she can like feast on and have you see your own nightmare. And that's her whole magical aspect. And I found that to be such a cool thing. And that's the whole theme throughout the entire rest of the series, given the titles. So this did feel very set-up-y. I have since then read the second book and the series takes off. I'll talk more about that one in my May wrap up. But for now, book 1, mostly setup and character development, which I didn't have a problem with because character development was really good. Next, I have Girls of Storm and Shadow, another reread. As I wanted to finish this entire series. This had such second book syndrome. I gave this 3.5 stars, which I think what I gave it originally. It just, not much happened. They tried to get us to like a lot of these random side characters, which was fine. I did end up liking them, but they introduced them just to get rid of them as sacrifices and makes it feel a little bit better and still makes you think that there are high stakes. And I don't really care for that kind of formulation, so it was okay for a second book. I can see what they were doing. I can see where the story's going, but not my favorite sequel, unfortunately. Up next, I have Right Man, Right Time by Meghan Quinn. This is the 3rd book in the Agitators series, and this one's definitely my favorite of the 3 thus far. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more, but I love that Silas has been built up throughout the other 2 books, and we finally got his story, which I was so just excited for. It's very opposites attract, grumpy sunshine, tortured past, a lot of really cool aspects. Plus there was this instance of the ex coming back and wanting to reconcile, and I don't see that a lot in romance books, and I really liked how that added to the tension for the main couple. So really liked this one. Definitely my favorite of the Agitators so far. Next, I have Girls of Fate and Fury by Natasha and Ngan. This is the final book in the Girls of Paper and Fire series. This is a relatively decent Finale, I gave it 4 stars. It was nothing super memorable, but it did have a bunch of twists and turns I wasn't necessarily anticipating. So I did really like the ending and how everything wrapped up. There was a lot of talk of mental health and grief within this story, and I thought that that was handled extremely well within the writing. Next, I have Down Deep by Kimberly Kincaid. This is the 4th book in the Station 17 series. By far my favorite. We have a little bit of an age gap. You know, we have the tortured soul who we've seen throughout the entire series, along with the owner of the bar, which they've been hanging out with the entire series. And I really liked how this all came together. We had a really cool plot line that pushed the romance a little bit, which I was here for. That's one of the things I love about Kimberly Kincaid's writing, is it's not just a romance, there's an actual plot that just happens to push the romance along. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. Also the best spice in the entire series. Next, I picked up Deep Check, also by Kimberly Kincaid. This is a novella, which happens technically, I think, between books 2 and 3 of the Station 17 series. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was fine. It was a novella. And I wish we got more. This was its own book, because there could have been a lot more to this. There was very apologetic. The, small town boy made big, but he came back to the small town for the girl kind of a thing. I really like the concept. It wasn't explored. They were just, boom, already in love. So it was a little weird. Next, I have Into the Pit by Scott Cawthon and Elley Cooper. This is the first book in the Fazbear, Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights series. These are just fun little novellas that were supposed to come out with the release of, I believe it was Security Breach. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. There were 3 separate stories with a similar theme. And then, we had a time traveling ball pit. So that was a little weird, but it was interesting and just fun and creepy, as most Five Nights at Freddy's stuff is. Up next, I have Make a Wish by Helena Hunting. This is the 3rd book in the Spark House series, and this one is a single dad romance. And then I think it was 6 or 7 years prior, our main female character was his nanny. And him and his daughter have come back into Harley's life. She has to try and either deny the feelings, pretend they don't exist, and he's finally ready to pursue something. So, very interesting story. Probably not my favorite of the entire series. Not my least favorite, but it holds 2nd place. I love the single dad romance trope. It's really fun. It adds a lot more layers of complexity to the characters. Plus, you have adorable kids there, so that's always fun. Up next, I have Oaths and Omissions by Savor Miller. This is the 3rd book in the, Monsters and Muses series, which is a collection of dark romance books, each surrounding a Greek mythology love story myth. This one is Helen of Troy, and I really liked this one. She is the fuck around and find out type of girl, and then he is a hitman for a mafia. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed their love story. I don't know. These ones I don't know what Savor Miller puts in these books, but they're like crack. And I can't stop reading them, as you will see, as I think I read the rest of the series this month as well. So, there's that. Next, I read My Contrary Mary by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. This is the first in they had the My Lady Janies series. It's the My Lady Marys. This one follows Mary Queen of Scots as a teenager, and I thought this one was cute. I love the story of Mary Queen of Scots. I love the TV show Reign. I'm huge into the whole Tudor dynasty thing, and I liked this. It was as cute and fun as whimsical as My Lady Jane. Having Frances be a part of this, obviously this is historical fiction, what if, with a little bit of magical realism in it, but it's really cute. And these ones are really hit or miss for me. I think I only liked 2 of the Janies, and I think this is the only one out for the Marys. There'll be another 3. But yeah, I don't know. They're just fun, cute little historical twisty books. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. It was fun. It was cute. A little childish, but it was fun. Next, I have Not the Witch You Wed by April Asher. I really like this. I give this 4 stars. This was a really cute romance between 2 witches of almost like rival witchy families, and I believe they were exes. Yeah, they were exes. He's not a witch, I'm sorry. He's an alpha in a werewolf clan, but they were exes from when they were teenagers, and they are forced to have to fake date to save face for her family because she has no powers. And I found this so cute, so much fun. I loved the dynamic of the wolf shifters as well as the political aspects of the witch clans. And I 10 out of 10 got the second book at a Polycon because April Asher was there. So I am really excited to read. She's got 2 or 3 younger sisters. She's the oldest, I believe. So all of the other books will be following her witchy sisters, and I'm assuming other paranormal races. Next, I have 7 Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb. I give this 4.5 stars. This was such a good book. This was very creepy, gave ancient Rome on the verge of collapse vibes, where we have these 7 Faceless Saints as the biggest hierarchy, and there was this huge murder mystery. We've got the corrupt political aspects. It was a really fantastic political fantasy story, and I was hooked. The murder mystery was really interesting. The reasonings behind the murder mystery was interesting. I did not see anything coming, which is very rare for me, but this is definitely one of my favorite books that I read in the month of April. I will be 100% getting the sequel. I think this is going to end up being a trilogy or quartet from what I've read. I don't think it's set in stone yet though, but I just want more from this world. It is very dark and gothic and just has those really cool creepy vibes. Up next, I have Parental Guidance by Avery Flynn. I ended up giving this 3 stars, and that was being generous. I did not like this at all. This was a parent took over a dating app and picked his date. And this dating app says that you have to go on like 5 dates with the person, which is a huge red flag. And it was just the reasoning behind the parent doing the thing was really dumb. It ended up being like fake dating because they didn't want to go on the other dates. And then, of course, within 5 dates, they fell in love with each other. It was weird, forced, and I just did not like it. Up next, I have Frost by C.N. Crawford. I really liked Frost. Frost is the first book in a romantasy duology, and this was Fae meets Hunger Games meets The Bachelor. And I'm not a huge fan of The Bachelor. I've actually never watched a single episode of The Bachelor, but it's the same kind of concept. And they have these trials to win the hand of the king, who is cursed to kill the person he falls in love with. So when he meets this like fiery, drunk fae in the human world, he's like, can't fall in love with that. I'm gonna rig these games to make you win so that I won't kill you or anyone else who I could potentially actually fall in love with given enough time. And it's such a great aspect, and getting his point of view was so funny because he's like, oh yeah, can't fall in love with that, and you as the reader, you're like, boy, you think. And our story goes on from there. A lot of political nonsense. The Hunger Games Bachelor aspect was really fun, and watching them try and fight their affections for each other because she just got out of a really bad relationship, which is why she was drunk. It is just so funny and comedic. I gave it 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Next, I have Graevale by Lynette Noni. This is book 4 in the Medoran Chronicles, and we're following Alex. This is a portal fantasy where she has been dropped from Earth into Medora, and it's filled with magic. She's going to this school, and by the time we're in book 4, so much has happened that I won't tell you because it's book 4 out of 6. But this book made me sob. I personally called out Lynette Noni on my Instagram for making me cry, and she laughed at it, which was really funny, but whatever. I give this 4.5 stars. These books, with the exception of Relia, have gotten better and better, and I am so scared for the finale of this book, of this series, because I know it is going to hurt me. And this book hurt me on a scale I was not mentally prepared for, and it's just so cool. The magic, the creatures, the relationships, the different dynamics, the political systems, all are so fascinating and well executed. I love it so much. Next, I have Arrows and Apologies, which is book 4 in the Monsters and Muses series by Savar Miller. I gave this book 4 stars. This is an Apollo and Daphne retelling. This one, they're both just murder hobos, but he's the mayor of the island. And it is so just corrupt and nonsense, and I loved every second of it. Alistair just refuses to admit his feelings. Cora just wanted none of his fucking nonsense, and it was so funny, but their chemistry on page was so electric, and their story just on fire from start to end, and in like the best possible way. Up next, I have Throttled by Lauren Asher. I've been meaning to get to this series for so long because I loved the Dreamland Billionaires series, and this is her first big series, which is the Dirty Air series, following a Formula One racing sports romance. So we follow, this is brothers' rival on the racetrack, which was really interesting. I'm used to brother's best friend, best friend's brother, that kind of thing, but brother's rival added a whole new layer of tension for Maya and Noah. And Noah had this big bad boy playboy air about him. Maya was just this cute girl who wanted to vlog and travel the world with her brother and be a supportive sister. And it was really funny how they just stumbled with each other. This isn't my favorite in the entire series. I've since finished this entire series since starting Throttled because I have no chill and they're all on Kindle. So, not my favorite of the entire series, but still phenomenal. I gave it 4.5 stars. I almost hit myself in the face. Up next, I have the London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. I really liked Sarah Penner's first book, The Lost Apothecary, which came out last year. Really, really enjoyed it. So I was excited to start the London Seance Society. I did not like this as much. It felt very disjointed and a little all over the place comparatively. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. It just didn't hit for me the same way that The Lost Apothecary did. It was very disjointed and really hard to follow, and I had a hard time caring for the characters and their stories. Next, I have Ambrosia, which is the second book in the Frost duology. It's only a duology, so I have books 1 and 2. And Ambrosia was a fantastic finale. I ended up giving it 4 stars. After the events of Frost, we find our wayward couple in a whole other realm. And they have to either figure out their feelings or go home. And it's like this whole thing. It's fantastic, filled with twists and turns that you just don't see coming. And I thoroughly enjoyed every second of Ambrosia. Up next, I have Travis by Mia Sheridan. This is a companion novel to Archer's Voice, which was one of my favorite, so far, still one of my favorite books of the entire year. And this follows Travis, who is kind of the bully, not quite villain of Archer's Voice. I'd call him more of a bully. And we're following Travis and his redemption story. And boy, was it a redemption story. Sobbed again throughout this. I didn't like it as much as Archer's Voice. Still gave this 5 stars because Mia Sheridan just made me fall in love with everything about this. And just her writing is so good. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not lyrical. It's not whimsical. It's just, she has a way of just sucking you into her world and her stories and being in the shoes of the characters. And it's just top notch. Next, I have Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I gave this 3.5 stars. This book made me so uncomfy. This is technically categorized as a romance. I don't know if I'd categorize this as a romance. This is a huge series following our 2 main characters, Lily and Lauren. And Lauren has a really awful alcohol problem. He is 100% alcoholic, and Lily is a sex addict. And they've been fake dating each other to hide their addictions from their well-off families. And it was so uncomfy, like to the point where I almost wasn't rooting for them to work out. Like, they obviously cared and loved each other. And it was, I don't want to say it wasn't good, because the story was good and hard-hitting, but it is very hard to read, and I have a very hard time categorizing this as a romance. I also hesitate to continue this series just because it was uncomfy, and it's like 10 books. Not all of it is Lily and Lauren. We also have Lily's sisters, but I hesitate. I did mention I read all of the rest of the series this month. I have Souls and Sorrows by Savar Miller, which is the 5th book in the Monsters and Muses series. This is a retelling of Eros and Psyche. And I don't want to say by far my favorite of the entire series, because this came up just above Vipers and Virtuosos for me, but it is my favorite. These are both siblings of prior characters that we're aware of, and I hesitate with that because it can go really, really well or really, really bad. And I usually only see it going pretty bad or pretty boring. I loved this. I loved this so much. Their relationship was similar to Alistair and Cora, on fire the entire time. It is a marriage of convenience to save her from marrying a mobster. And he's just not as good. He's like not better. He's better than a mobster. Not by much. But nonetheless, he's this well up-to-do lawyer, finds loopholes in everything. Kashnari, by far my favorite couple so far. And I'm very excited for the final book, which I believe is Liars and Liaisons, which comes out in June. Next, I have another reread, and that is Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas for my whole Maas readathon this year. Air of Fire is not my favorite in the entire series, but it's probably like second or third. This is just it's where we meet Rowan, who is my favorite character by far. And it's where our story, I feel, gets started. And I love that this just catapults us into our huge overarching plot that's been building the past couple of books. And it's where we get the deep, deep stuff within the book and the story. So I love rereading Air of Fire. I also noticed a ton of cool things within Air of Fire. So this is filled with notes and tabs. You can't really see because they're kind of metallic. I didn't want to put the paper tabs in these. I'm so enjoying this whole readathon. Currently, right now, I'm reading ACOTAR because it's the first break from Throne of Glass I've gotten. And it's just so interesting to see the different things and the different hints to other things within these earlier books. Next, I have Collided by Lauren Asher. This is book 2 in the Dirty Air series. I really like Collided. This is a Friends to Lovers. She is also a coach's daughter. So we have that trope going on, and then similar Playboy-esque trope with Liam, but I really liked Collided, probably one of my favorite Friends to Lovers, plus with a Friends to Lovers with a mix of Dirty Bucket List. And I love the Dirty Bucket List. Adding in Friends to Lovers, so much fun, so just fiery, dynamic, and these characters have such a special place in my heart. And Liam's story was a lot more sad and upsetting. I was really glad that found a resolution. It was way more than what I expected for Liam, considering how he was introduced in Throttled. I still don't know. Now that I've finished the Dirty Air series, I'm not sure if I can compare it to Dreamland Billionaires at all, because like they're both so good. The last book I have is King of Pride by Anna Huang. I pre-ordered this, so this came out the week of ApollyCon. I actually brought this and I finished this while at ApollyCon, which is really funny because last year at ApollyCon I was reading Twisted Hate. So it's just a thing. I have to read Anna Huang at ApollyCon, even though she hasn't been there the past 2 years. But King of Pride is the second book in the Kings of Sin series, following Kai and Isabella. Kai is a billionaire CEO, and Isabella is a bartender at his... the best way I can describe it is like a country club, but really, really, really exclusive. And it's very forbidden love, billionaire romance. Kai was not like any of the other male protagonists that Anna Huang has written. Usually they're very dark, possessive, borderlining on dark romances. Kai was very quiet and reserved, and it was written very differently than her other books, and I appreciated that because I was starting to get worried because I know the Kings of Sin series is going to be all 7 Deadly Sins. I'm worried that we're going to start getting carbon copies of the other guys from Twisted series, or even carbon copies within this own series. It's not. She writes them so differently and so eloquently. They just feel real. They feel like real people you can look up. And I absolutely adore that about Anna Huang's writing style. So I give this 4.5 stars. I think I liked this more than King of Wrath, and I loved King of Wrath. I still think Twisted Lies is my favorite of all of her works, but this is coming in as a close second. And that is my entire April wrap up. Really good month, and so far May is turning out to be a decent month. I think I've had 1 5-star already, so we'll see how the rest of the month goes, but for now that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post every Wednesday, Friday, with the occasional vlog on a Sunday, and I'll see you guys in our next video. Bye!